you, Lord.
So what happens when life gives you both the unexpected and unwanted? When everything that was normal yesterday becomes like a distant dream? How do you handle it? Baby Ethan's Getting Better Every Day gives you a glimpse inside the life of a family that receives an unfavorable medical diagnosis of its newest family member. In just one day, every normal routine and ritual gets overturned with efforts in getting baby Ethan the care needed for his fight for life. This framework of faith and small part of the Yon family's journey will give you the highs, the lows, and the real of life as they face the 3-day death sentence of their child, Ethan, and the days that follow. To get your copy in paperback or to download the Kindle version, visit Amazon.com and search for Baby Ethan's Getting Better Every Day. This book by Pastor Eddie L. Yon is sure to encourage and inspire you. Baby Ethan's Getting Better Every Day. Pick up your copy today.
Well, hello, everyone. This is your man, Pastor Eddie L. Yon at Restore Glory Christian Center, Monticello, Florida. Today, I got my great friends in here, Robert and Jerilyn Ward. and I brought them in for this season because this is the season of love, February and Valentine's Day. And they have written a phenomenal book called For Better and For Worst. Not worse, worst. And I want them to come in and we're going to talk about relationships and marriage and decisions and all those things that, you know, all us Christians need to talk about. And so briefly, I want you, before we get into that, I want to introduce the ministry of it's International and Kingdom Home Economics, right? And then we're going to talk about In Spirit and In Truth Ministries, which is really, this is what the book came out of, correct? So let's go ahead and talk about International Kingdom Economics. Tell us about that ministry first.
So Kingdom Home Economics came out of a prophetic word that we received about where the Lord was taking us as far as our ministry is concerned. As you said, the book was birthed out of In Spirit and In Truth Ministries International, but Kingdom Home Economics was birthed after the book and after all of those things. And it's about teaching the practical principles of the kingdom.
Okay.
Because a lot of people, you hear the message of the kingdom, and many people don't have a full concept of what does that mean. And so Kingdom Home Economics is about bringing it down. You know, economics, you know, it's simple. You know, you give people money. So that's what Kingdom Home Economics is about. It's about showing you how to exchange and work in the kingdom. You have more to say?
It's also because we found out that, you know, back in our day, we had home economics in school. So we found that people were attracted to that when they found out that, because I'm a chef, my wife is a seamstress, and they were like, well, I can't cook. There was a lot of women, young women who could not cook, and a lot of young women who could not sew. So one night I was sitting up and was praying, and the Lord said, okay, Kingdom Home Economics, both ways. The building the total man, spirit, soul, and body. So it engulfs everything. Okay, financially, basics, all the basic things of finance and sewing and cooking and
life skills.
Life skills. It's the same thing in the kingdom. Okay, finance, meal planning, whatever it may be, keeping yourself healthy for the work of the ministry. Life skills, practically. So things won't go over your head, so we try to make things as practical as possible.
And I'm going to do a shameful plug for Pastor Robert, because he's also a chef, as he mentioned, and he has a side service where he can cook these meals, these romantic meals. You trying to get your bae right, man. He made a steak for me. I know that cow said, send me, I'll go. Slaughter me, because this, and that cow died a good death. I'm letting you tell you right now. He died an anointed death. That steak was good and tender. And so that is one of the things, too, that if you're looking to hook up your bae, This man here can do it. And your phone up 954-515-9719, right?
That's it.
I mean, he can hook the whole meal up, the red velvet cake. I mean, it was all, the whole thing was shebang bang. I got points that time. So when you mentioned that, I had to throw that in.
Put that plug in.
Oh, man, I didn't mean to put the plug, but I got to tell you, if we're talking about love now, because we want to get it right, and you want to do something unique and have this wonderful 5-course meal right there at your house. This man can do it. Contact him. He can do it. Okay, so let's talk about In Spirit and In Truth Ministries. How was that birth? What happened? Tell us the foundation on that.
Well, we were in Daytona Beach. That's where we were located, and we were working in this ministry. And I went home to Fort Lauderdale to visit my dad, and it was 2008, the Christmas of 2008. And he had me and my younger brother do a Christmas service on Christmas night, and at his church, and we got done, and I heard the Spirit of God say, "Come home." Place where I never want to go, never want to be again. I did not want to be in South Florida anymore. And I walked up to my dad and I said, "Dad, I think I need to come home." And he said, "Well, you pray about it, and you ask the Lord what you need to do." We came back to Daytona Beach. We prayed on it, told him that we're coming home. And it was at that point I said, "Jerilyn, that's where we start our ministry. And in spirit and in truth." Because I was a praise and worship leader. And the Bible tells us over in John 4 that if you're going to worship the Lord, you must worship him in spirit and in truth.
And that's our base scripture.
That's our base scripture. And that's how because my wife danced prophetically, and then I sing, and we both minister the gospel prophetically. So it started in 2011 when we launched out and started doing the ministry.
Oh, wow. Well,
Yeah.
And it's funny when you were saying you didn't want to go. I said, so there's a Nineveh, Florida.
Come on now. Come on.
I didn't want to go, but you went, and
Yes.
God, and I'm sure God proved himself faithful.
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
That's
Yes,
what he
sir.
does. So through that whole transition, because we're going to get into the book now, and I tell you, this book has been more than a blessing to me. There are so many nuggets in it, and things I lay in line I want to share. I say, you know what? I can share the whole book because I'm going line by line through the whole book. You just got to get the book, and after this, I am sure you're going to get this book. So let's talk about the crux of the book, and kind of, I'm going to give you some of your words back to you. Okay. How did the book happen, and what happened to make the book, and all those things?
First thing that happened is, of course, you get this devastating report. From the doctor. You have HIV. And
now repeat that again. So repeat that again because they might have missed that.
Okay.
A little bit louder.
You get this devastating report from the doctor after they've taken your blood, and they tell you that you have HIV. So that's where the story starts. We get that report, and that was a journey even getting to that, which, we're in the series, because for better and for worse is the first in the series. The next part of the series is in sickness and health.
Okay.
The next one is for rich or for poor.
All
so
right.
we'll talk in detail in sickness and health about that journey. But that's where it started, getting that report from the doctor. And then living through it. Now your whole life, the way you navigate has changed. Yeah. It's like most people, their life turns upside down. Maybe it's not an HIV diagnosis. Maybe it's a foreclosure and you got to get out your house. Maybe you lost a job. Now you got to find another one. Whatever it is that you feel like is turning your life upside down, that's what started this story. And when you're in it, it's sometimes it's really murky. You can't see. You don't know which direction you're going. Yeah. And God is so faithful that he will put people in your path, whether you're in church, whether you're outside, it doesn't matter. Those that are hearing him. And a lady in church ministered to us, and she said to us, you're going to write a book about this. And that was in 2007.
Okay.
And then we didn't get to start. We started writing a little bit, but we didn't know what we were doing. And then the Lord connected me with someone on my job that was a person who self-published herself.
Gotcha.
And in 2011 is when we got serious about it. Okay. And even as we got serious, reliving the things that we were writing was really challenging because you would write and all your emotions and all your thoughts and all your feelings came rushing back. Yeah. And so we would have to put it down for a little bit. And then, one or the other would get annoyed with the other and poke, you ain't wrote nothing today, you ain't wrote nothing today. When was the last time you picked it up? Right. You know, so it was back and forth, and then, you know, finally we were able to just sit down and get it written and then get it to the publisher and get it published.
And that was the fascinating aspect about the book, because I try to wonder, now, did they go back in memory to say, because you guys came from different perspectives. So one time Robert would talk about it, and then I'm cheering for Robert, don't do that, man, don't do that, no, man, why you doing that? And then here comes Jerilyn, and then you come from your perspective, and I thought that, so did they write this as they were going, or did they go back and write it from memory? So that was part of your journaling process.
Yes.
You journaled the book as you went through it. Oh, wow.
So we wanted it to be a conversation.
Yeah.
Just like we're having right now. We wanted the book to be a conversation. I didn't want to just do the whole talking. I said, Jerilyn, let's, because there are a lot of things I didn't remember. Because I had contracted bacterial meningitis. So that caused my memory loss.
Right.
So I needed her to remember parts that I was missing. So she would say, Robert, you gotta add. I said, well, why don't you write that part?
Yeah.
I write a little bit, then you come in and you write with it, and that's how it was all gone.
I think it was cool. I think it was cool
It
how
was.
that happened.
It was very cool, and I'm gonna jump ahead because in that part, that was a hot mess in progress. I don't know how you survived going to work and them dragging you to the car and then getting to the hospital, because that really began the whole crux of the discovery.
Yes.
Because you didn't know until that part, and then that led on the discovery, and then you found, oh my God, I got HIV.
Yes.
And I passed it along to my wife.
Yes.
So let's go back to the very beginning of the marriage, because you set up a great foundation regarding the fantasy aspect. I love what you shared about the fantasy. I'm going to read what you wrote. You said, when I was watching the married couples as a young woman, I wanted it so badly. I read the scriptures in Genesis and thought, oh, Lord, I can do this. I just want to be married. But the true translation is, oh, Lord, I just want me a man.
It is the truth. I mean, if we're honest, honest as women, that's what it is. You just want you a man. And sometimes wanting something, you don't know what all is coming with that package.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're not ready for what's there. And sometimes in the midst of it, you got to get ready.
Yeah.
I mean, after you say I do, some people have to get ready for everything that's coming, because, you know, you're in the phase of, this beautiful wedding, and you're planning, it's lovely, 10 bridesmaids, grooms, you know, you just wrapped up in that. But then when you say I do, and you come back from the honeymoon, and, you know, the rubber is hitting the road, and now it's time.
And you call that in the book Real Life 101 or something of that nature. Like, look, I got indoctrinated into real life because the fantasy somewhat ended, and then you really get this diagnosis that, like, okay, it really abrupts your fantasy.
Yes,
I mean, it
does.
really just knocks that down. But I also like when you were talking about in the book, and this is something good those young ladies and even young men know, is you knew what you wanted.
Yes.
And you said, I went back to a list. You know, so talk to me about this. You didn't talk about the list in the book.
Talk about
that list, because God must have filled that list. We need to know this about this list thing.
That's good. Okay, so a lot of us, when we were coming up, we all did the youth thing. We did these youth conferences, and this particular youth conference that I went to, they were talking to the young people about being very, very intentional, you know, which is a word we use now, but they didn't use that then, but that's what they were talking about. When you start asking the Lord for a mate, what is it that you want in a mate? What are you looking for? You know, we just, you know, we go from I want a man to what do I want in a man? What am I looking for? And then they took it a step further. You can make this list about what you're looking for in your mate, but you need to be complementary or you know, match, you know, your
evenly yoked.
Yes, match, you know, his weakness with your strength, or your weakness with his strength. So how are you going to be complementary? And so I had this list. I still have it. It's about 20-something things on it. I still have it. I actually put it in a protective sleeve so that the paper won't go disintegrate. But that's where the list came from. In this youth conference, they were challenging us to really say to the Lord, this is what I'm looking for. And Robert fit the bill.
All right now. All right.
He didn't think he did after he looked at it. There was a couple of things he didn't think,
Now,
but I did.
And I'm going to pick on Robert because he a bruh. Only thing he was thinking, she got to be fine. That's all I need.
It was. Well, not really. Because at the time, the pastors we were serving under were trying to set me up with somebody else.
Oh.
While I was focused on her. So they were both with the same size, pretty much the same
build,
the same personality, everything. But my focus was on Jerilyn because when I pulled out from taking her home that night and I pulled out that driveway, I asked the Lord, "That's my wife, huh?" And I heard the Spirit, "Yes, that's your wife."
Wow.
We had not talked about anything or anything.
Wow.
So I knew then, so it was. It was something else.
So then after that, the book transitions from what you want to what you are, because you really go into that regarding, okay, now I need to know what I am. And you talk a few things about, being raised without a father.
Yes.
And how that kind of affected you and those things of that nature. So you want to share, and I know right now we may be ministering to those young women, but it may be young men too, about knowing who you are, what you are, knowing your shortcomings.
Yes.
Tell me about that for a second.
Yeah, not having a father in the household really did affect me a lot because I didn't learn how to interact with a man. I just heard my mother, how she talked to my brothers, and there's a difference. I cannot talk to my husband like I heard my mother talk to my brothers, because that's not going to work, because it was pick up your socks, do this. That's not how that's going to go down in a relationship, because when you get married, your husband becomes your covering, and it's a working together, but he's the lead. And in my household, all I learned about was being the leader.
Because you were a strong woman, and then to go from strong and single to submissive.
Yes.
And you guys talk about that too, how basically, you got two people coming together to be one flesh, and you've been two people your whole life.
Yes.
And now that transition has to happen, and that takes a lot of adjusting.
A lot of unraveling of what, not only what you think, but the fantasy of what it's going to be when you get married. I mean, it just unravels, and you have to have a strong want to and a desire to stay with that, because for some people, as that starts to unravel, that's a mental thing where you may decide, I don't want to bother with this.
Yeah.
I mean, so you got to have a decision that, yes, not just your love, but your commitment to this is greater than what you're experiencing. And so I made those decisions. I was making them, I felt like, in the early stages of the marriage, almost daily, I felt like I was making that decision. No, this is what I want. This is what I want to do. Yes, all these things on the list, as compared to what I'm seeing now are different. And not having a father and learning how to allow him to discipline the children, allow him to make the decision, because I was the oldest of 5, a pseudo-parent. I mean, we got a lot of young ladies and young men who become a pseudo-parent in their house, where they don't always have to be the oldest. Sometimes a pseudo-parent is the middle. Sometimes it's the baby child that becomes that parent, and they're looking after the children and the parent, And so I had to learn how to relinquish so many different things, and I'm not going to say I've arrived in that area. There's still some times where, I want to take control, and my husband, I'm not one of your students, So not having a father, and I thank God for other wise women. I know that sometimes in this new generation that sometimes gets, pushed away, but having other women around me to say things to me. Initially, yes, you're gonna have a little bit of attitude because they're telling you, who she thinks she is. But when you sit down and you really think about what they're telling you, that's what helped me to unravel the wrong thought processes and to really break down the fantasy and come into real life of what it means to live.
And Robert, I want to go to you because one thing the book doesn't mention, it doesn't really go deep into your family like background. Jerilyn talks about, she raising up, growing up as a strong woman. And when you talk about the meningitis, your family came there, your dad's there. So that I would have to assume a close-knit relationship with your father. No. Okay. So but it doesn't really talk too much about that. So I want to ask from your perspective, with this strong woman, you inherit this strong woman from the Lord, right? So how did you transition having this strong, independent woman to going to having some of a balanced Christian marriage? How do you do that?
It was, at first, I think I had my Superman cape on. Because of the things that she had been going through with her family, with her mother. I felt like I needed to rescue her. And then when we got married and we started having children, even before I started noticing, this bill needs to be paid. I got this. This needs to be done. I got this. Grocery needs to be. I got this. And then when the children came, she wasn't used to a male voice in the house. So when I would, based on my son, those things like, well, Robert, you don't have to yell, but I'm not yelling. That's my voice. That's just my voice.
Okay. Did your dad yell?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Dad, well, he didn't yell as much as he whistled, and I hated it. I despised it.
Your dad whistled?
He would call for us by whistling.
Oh wow.
We're down the street playing basketball, and he wouldn't call. He would just whistle.
Okay.
And I was like, man, I'm not my dog, So it took a minute, because there was sometimes I would get flashbacks of my dad, and I wanted a wife. And I think one of the things that where I messed up was that I said to Jerilyn before we got married was that I'm not. My mother had 4 boys. Okay, she taught us how to clean. She taught us how to cook. She taught us how to wash dishes. She taught us how to keep house. I'm not really looking for that. I just need somebody there who will listen to me when I talk. And Jerilyn came from the household that she came from. And there was sometimes when I would hear her mother's voice more than I would hear her, because I knew who her mother. And it was so. And I did not want that. The things that she experienced when we first got married, because we didn't see anybody from her family until after Nicholas was born. That was 2 years later. Okay. And her mother never came to our wedding. Oh wow. And so that was hard. And I was trying to be as much as supportive as I can, because there was one point when I said, "Look, if we need to annul this, so you can be all right with your family, I'll do that, and I'll wait." And she was like, "No, I'm not going to do that." So we decided then that we were not, whatever we're going through, we were not going to use the D word. Okay. Divorce was not an option. It was not an option. Okay. So I had to learn. I think I tried not to be my father so much till I wasn't being myself.
So you got to be yourself, no matter what.
You got to be yourself.
Because yourself is going to come out, and that was a nugget that you unloaded in the book as well, about how when we get comfortable with people, the real us it does come out.
Yes.
And it's great because when we first dating, oh, you're wonderful and fine, you smell good, your breath never stank.
Right.
All this great stuff.
Right.
But as soon as you start getting comfortable with this person, the real person finally comes out.
The real person finally comes out. I said this now when I talk to couples. We come into marriage with a box. This is how she's going to be. This is everything that my expectations are going to be. That's how everything he's going to be. And we never allow that person to be who they are because we have that box, that fantasy of who they're supposed to be. So all this time, I'm trying to make her who I have in this box, and I never really learned.
I'm trying to make him what I think a man is supposed to be.
And I never really learned who Jerilyn really
she is or who he is.
And through time, and I've learned this too, even with my wife, is that the beautiful thing is if you let them be who they are, you discover a whole lot more.
Come on.
You discover this beautiful person you have, and you discover the gifts and talents and even the weaknesses, but that's okay because the covenant, you become their strength.
That's all I'm saying.
And so it's not that this person is perfect. And Jerilyn, you did have me laughing about this because with your own insecurities, you got mad at him because he wasn't going to have no ring at your engagement party. But that was your insecurity.
Yes.
And you talk about, we can't tell them everything about the book. Y'all got to buy the book. Right. I mean, I tell you the whole book. I'm trying not to, but there's just so much packed in there about relationships and how just our own insecurities.
Yes.
And now, Robert, that was one thing you really touched on great because, we as men, we have insecurities. We have tons of insecurities and we'll fall into traps because I want you to share on insecurities.
Well, look, I don't know about you, but I have really been blessed by this portion of the interview. And I know that we really hit a serious stopping point on male insecurities. And next week on March the 3rd, 8 p.m., same time, same channel, we'll pick it up from here and go on. And Robert's going to share with the male insecurities, the pitfall. Also, we're going to go into premarital benefits and blessings of that. And guess what? We're going to also discuss some family secrets. So we invite you back next week, same time, same channel, iworship.restoreglory.org at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, so that you can continue to be blessed by the Wards in this interview. Hey, it's your man, Pastor Eddie L. Young. I'm out of time, but I'm not out of word. I want to remind you, everywhere we go, let everybody know that the Word of God will restore your glory.
The Restoring Your Glory broadcast is recorded at Restored Glory Christian Center in the beautiful city of Monticello, Florida. We invite you to worship with us every Sunday at 10 o'clock a.m. or join us on Thursdays at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time for interactive Bible study. For more information, visit our website, restoredglory.org, or our social media pages. On behalf of Pastor Eddie L. Yan, First Lady Veronica Yan, and the Restored Glory family, thank you for joining us. Until next time, let the Word of God restore your glory.
All of this and more. Thank you for your promises, Lord. Your promises never fail. Thank you that you're God who restores your people. Oh, yes, you do. All of